Well, good news, everyone. Today we are going to watch the James R. Barker go through the Soo locks. If you notice the first lock, you'll see the water rising, and soon you'll see the James R. Barker come through the second lock. The first lock is named the MacArthur. The second lock is named the Poe. There are two other locks in the distance, named Davis and Sabin. There are plans for the Davis and Sabin to be combined into a Poe-sized lock to accommodate larger vessels. A little history about the James R. Barker, which I got from boatnerd.com. The Barker is the third 1,000-footer in the Great Lakes Fleet and was built in 1976 by the American Shipbuilding Company in Loren, Ohio. She's the first 1,000-footer built for the Interlake Steamship Company and the first 1,000-footer to be built entirely on the Great Lakes. Other firsts include a 1,000-footer all accommodations located in a 5-story superstructure located at the stern. And she was used as the model for 10 other ships preceding her. The Barker was built at a cost of more than $43 million. Her rate service speed is 15.75 knots, which is approximately 18 miles per hour. The load capacity is 59,000 gross tons of iron ore pellets and 52,000 net tons of coal. Her self-unloading rig has a 250-foot boom fed by 3-row hopper belt systems. Now that we know a little bit about the ship, let's go into the history of Soo locks. This information comes from the U.S. Corps of Engineers website and also Sault Ste. Marie's Pure Michigan website. The locks are located on the St. Mary's River and is the only water connection between Lake Superior and the other Great Lakes. Near the upper end of the river, the water drops 21 feet over a hard sandstone. This rapids, or sault, original Old French term, made it impossible for trade vessels to pass. Cargo had to be unloaded and transported around the rapids and reloaded. In 1797, the first lock on the St. Mary's River was constructed on the north shore to provide passage for trade canoes. The lock was destroyed by the American forces during the War of 1812, and cargo once again had to be hauled around the rapids until a new lock was opened in 1855. The state locks operated between 1855 and 1888 and was built by the state of Michigan on the South Shore. Under the guidance of Charles T. Harvey, who was contracted by E&T Fairbanks Company, 2 locks were constructed. Each chamber measured 350 feet long, 70 feet wide, 12 feet deep, and had a lift of 9 feet. Michigan operated and maintained these locks, but as shipping traffic grew, the vessel sizes increased, and became apparent larger locks was needed. The state of Michigan sought support from the federal government in the 1870s. In 1881, the Wetzel lock, named after U.S. Corps of Engineers District Engineer Godfrey Wetzel, was started and completed. It was 515 feet long, 80 feet wide, 17 feet deep, and had a lift of 20 feet. Unlike the state locks, which filled and emptied through sluices in the gates, the Wetzel lock filled and emptied through openings in its floor, which reduced the turbulence in the lock. Every lock built on the Soo since has used this innovation. Within 6 years of opening the Wetzel lock, work began to build an even larger lock to replace the outdated state locks. Traffic and boat sizes continued to increase, and long waits for the Wetzel lock were common. The new lock, completed in 1896, was 800 feet long, 1,000 feet or 100 feet wide, 21 feet deep. This lock was known as the first Poe lock, which was named after Orlando Poe, who was an engineer who engineered the burning of Atlanta during the Civil War, but was in charge of the Great Lakes Improvement Project. This lock was also the first on the St. Mary's River to use gates made from steel rather than wood. The Poe locks was originally designated to lock up 4 vessels at a time, but by 1905, boats were up to 569 feet long and had to be locked 1 vessel at a time. To cut down on delays and to handle more than 1 boat at a time, a plan was developed to build Davis Lock in 1914. This lock was named after Charles E.L.B. Davis, an engineer of the U.S. Corps of Engineers. The new lock was 1,350 feet long, 80 feet wide, and 24 feet deep. Boats began to pass the 600-foot mark when the 613-foot-long Colonel James M. Schoonmaker was launched in 1911. Recognizing the need for another lock to accommodate the growing number and length of boats in the Great Lakes Fleet, a 4th lock was approved. Work began on a Sabin lock, named after L.C. Sabin, in 1913, a year before the completion of the Davis lock in 1919. The Sabin and Davis locks were built to the exact same specifications using the same plans. These locks were the first on site with concrete walls rather than stone masonry, and used electrical winding machines to open and close the gates. With the 3 larger, newer locks in operation, the Wetzel lock, with its relatively shallow draft, saw little use after 1919. By 1936, channels in the St. Mary's River has been deepened to 24 foot, and ship companies began calling for newer, deeper lock. As vessels and the capabilities of the operations with deeper and deeper drafts, the project created the MacArthur lock, named after General Douglas MacArthur. Received a boost when the U.S. was drawn into the World War II, and maintained a steady supply of iron ore to steel mills became a matter of national security. Construction of a new lock to replace the Wetzel was approved in March of 1942 and was completed in less than 2 years. Vessel size continued to increase and began to push the limits of even the MacArthur lock. By the 1950s, to meet the growing demand for the larger and larger vessels, plans began in 1958 for a larger, deeper lock to replace the Poe lock. These plans called for 1,000-foot long, 100-foot wide construction began in 1961. Quickly into the project, it was clear that even larger lock was needed, and the lock was redesigned to its current 1,200 feet in length and 110 feet in width. The new Poe lock began operations in 1968. In less than 4 years, the lock would see its first 1,000-foot vessel on the Great Lakes. Every year, the Soo locks are scheduled to close between January 15th and reopen March 25th. During the 10-week period, workers conduct preventative maintenance, replace worn components, and inspect the locks. Often the locks is dewatered, and it doubles as a dry dock for the U.S. Corps of Engineers vessel, allowing their hulls to be inspected and repaired. The grounds of the Soo locks have been visited by people coming to watch boats passing through the locks since the 1850s, and by the 1880s a public park ran alongside the canal and lock. In 1966 a visitor center was constructed in the Upper Canal Park. In the visitor center you can learn more about the locks the boats passing the locks, the role of the Corps of Engineers, and the Great Lakes. The front desk staff posts estimated boat schedules and maintains a boat schedule hotline, which is updated throughout the day. If you're in the area during the last Friday in June, the lock grounds are open to the public because of Engineers Day. Well, as you can see, the boat is leaving the lock, and I hope you learned something on this video, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe for future videos. Also, comment down below. And as always, thanks for watching.